Hello everybody, what's up? What's happening? I'm Alfred and I'd like to talk about something very important, something that should be obvious, and it's mostly targeted at Donald Trump Jr. I'd like to talk about the importance of a Trump news network. I wonder why it hasn't been obvious. You know, one of the biggest hindrances to everything that Donald Trump is doing and will do is the mainstream media, which is fake news. They are lying about everything Donald Trump does. It's a big hindrance. There's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of lies. The goal of mainstream media is to paint everything Donald Trump does black, is to demonize the Republican Party. There is already an agenda, a globalist agenda. Keep in mind, we live in a world where people have 500-year plans, or I should say, certain people have 500-year plans, 1,000-year plans, 10,000-year plans. Now, these people are obviously not going to be here to see to fruition their plan, but it doesn't mean that the plan doesn't exist. Big, giant corporations have such plans. Certain organizations like the World Economic Forum and such, they have such plans. Understand something about this world. God created this world for man. Think of the earth as a doghouse. There is the human being, for example, who lives in a main house. Then he has his doghouse, which was built by a man. But it's not for man to live in. It wasn't built for the man. It was built by the man for the dog. In the same way, look at the main house as heaven. Then earth is the doghouse. So earth, the doghouse, was built by God, was created by God, but not for God. It was built for man. So the same way man builds a doghouse for his dog, he's not living in the doghouse, but he built that doghouse for his dog. The earth was built for man. And man runs this world. God's home is heaven. Yes, God's presence is also on earth, but he functions here through us. And it's for our own good and because we are here. The only reason that God visited or visits the earth is because of man. There's going to be a new heaven and a new earth when, there is after the purge and the separation of the wheat from the corn, the bad chaff from the good chaff. The earth in itself has no value by itself to God. It is the treasure in the earth, which is the saints, the church, that is what is valuable to God. Keep in mind, God is a creator. How many days has passed, since God created the earth? And God created this earth, as we know, this physical plane, in 7 days. Do you think he cannot create more? Do you think that perhaps he didn't create more that the Bible didn't tell us about? There are certain things in the book of Genesis that is, when you read further, you will see. The Bible is just given for us to have enough information to know who God is and to serve God and to point God and to love God, and for us to have no excuse. That's what the Bible is for. The Bible is not intended to be an end-all be-all summary of everything. So there's much that is not revealed. As a matter of fact, even the Bible itself references certain books that were removed by the Catholic Church. Keep in mind, there are certain books that are referenced, like the book of Enoch and a few other books that are referenced in the Bible that is not part of the 66 books that we have and know as the Bible. So understand that there is so much. John said that Jesus did so many other miracles that all the books in the world are not able to contain. what he did. That means that the Gospels of Jesus was supposed to be, it could have been longer, it could have been way much more. But what was given was what is enough for us to know that Jesus is the Christ, is the Messiah. So keep that in mind. But what I want to focus on and talk about is the fact that man controls this world. This is man's world. Just like with the doghouse analogy. So everything that happens is constructed by man. Man shapes the way things goes, the systems of this world. But guess what? We as Christians, we have the power to shape the world in what image we want. And I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about the systems of the world, the educational system, the media system, the culture. We can shape it because the culture is already shaped by man. Understand that. The whole world, the way money was created by man, not God. Money was created by man. God did not create money. Man created money. The whole system of the Federal Reserve, the printing of money, the central banks, those are not something that God created. God did not create the central banks. It is man that thought and created the central banks, the Federal Reserve, and the banking system, and all of this credit system and all that. You see, man creates this world. Man reshapes. God created it originally, has given it to man, and it's man that is running it and creating the systems on it and doing all this stuff. We can take charge and do things right. Now, with regards to a Trump news network, I set the stage first by explaining how the world works, that man runs it. The people that have certain power and understand most of these things know that they can shape populations and how people think based on what they see and what they are told through the media. So they control the media. The way it is, there are so many things that when you follow Trump on Truth Social, you see things that he's doing. Even the last time that Trump ran, when Ivanka was working with him, I followed Ivanka and I saw every single day Ivanka Trump was doing things. And the so-called feminists and all the women power, these people should have celebrated Ivanka Trump, because every single day Ivanka Trump was achieving something. Every single day. Either she would travel here, and then she successfully gets this trade deal on behalf of Americans, smoothing out trade deals, doing making huge moves when it comes to charity, there were so many deals that Ivanka pulled off. I was impressed, and it was every single day something different. But the media, no attention to that. It is, why is she supporting her father? Her father is a quote unquote, they will call this name. Her father did this, her father is that. Why is she supporting her father? They ignored every single thing that she did. Every single achievement. There are a lot of things internationally, even bad presidents, like Nigeria, Tinubu, what is President Tinubu doing now? There are things that certain people do, certain presidents and leaders do, that are not highlighted. The media has its own agenda. We are going to paint him black, or we have to put this twist on this, on that. So they don't just dish out the fact or convey the news that this is what happened and this is how it is. The president met with this and this and talked about this, and this was good. This happened. Oh, this change has now come. This has changed. There are certain things, and because of things like, there are certain things that wealthy people know that poor people don't know. For example, people say things like, why is Dangote the richest man in Nigeria? One of the reasons why Dangote is the richest man in Nigeria is not like there are people who say stupid things like um, it is because he was, in bed with politicians. That is that if you make friends with politicians, that's you become Dangote. That's nonsense. Don't the politicians have relatives? Don't the politicians have other friends? Why are they not Dangote? And you mean to tell me that the politicians left their family members, they left their sons, they left making their son Dangote, then they made Dangote Dangote? No. A lot of people have not even sat down to read any biography or the like of Dangote to understand what opportunities he saw. There are certain things that happen. For example, during the Obasanjo administration, when Obasanjo will come and say, we are placing an embargo on this, no more importing this, or we are going to restrict importation of this, or we are going to increase the price of importing so and so. Other people will complain. Some people will now still import at a higher price and sell at a higher price. Dangote will look and say, they have placed an embargo on this. Let me start a company that manufactures this product that now has an embargo. That is how Dangote is where he is today. He targeted products that he could project there was demand for and there was already selling, but he saw obstructions to his importation. Even with his refinery, what is his refinery about? Creating a situation where it decreases, importation, no need for importation of oil. If there is an embargo, which there should be, restrictions to stop the importation of oil. What refinery is working? The only working refinery is Dangote refinery. That has been his business model. He looks at things that are already selling, but he sees the government is passing this law. This is happening. Like, there is going to be a movement, and there are the certain government officials have talked about that why are Nigerians importing so many fabric clothes from India, from these other countries, that can't we make textile in Nigeria? Dangote looks at something like that and say, let me start my own textile mill in Nigeria. So all these things, but these are important news that do not, it is very important, poor people don't think about these kinds of things. They are the kind of things that somebody who is rich and is going somewhere, the kind of news that they're interested in getting, different from the kind of news the poor person is getting. A lot of poor people, what is on their mind and what they want to know is the names of the latest football team or what celebrity. There are some who it is what celebrity gossip and what this and that. Some people, they always know what is the latest song, what is the latest movie. But rich people who are going somewhere, they know what is the latest opportunity, what is the latest problem, and how can I monetize solving that problem. Are people in this area or that area, is rents going up? What if I provide low-income housing? What if I build a large estate? How much money would that now make me? What if I change the billing system? People are not able to pay one-time payment of 50 million for a house. What if I create a situation where I break it down over a period of 2 years or 3 years? And even though it was a house that a one-time payment could have been 50 million, now I can stretch it out and make 100 million, but tell them you can pay monthly and allow them, to do it that way. How many people will now want to have access and now buy the house? All these kinds of things, changing and looking at laws that are changing and situations that are changing and taking advantage of it. So we must understand that. Now back to the need for a Trump news network. There needs to be, and this is bigger than Trump. If I'm saying it because it's one of the, it's going to be the biggest blessing to Trump, because there are a lot of things that the Trump administration is doing that never gets talked about. And there's no such thing as conservative news. There's no right-wing news, to be frank with you. Because when it comes to online right-wing news is kind of responding to a lot of sensationalism. And it's all about memes and reacting to crazy leftist things. Leftists do a lot of crazy stuff, so there's a lot of content there. So it's just, when it comes to online, so-called right-wing media is about making fun of crazy leftists and the crazy things they do and making memes about them, and it's just making fun of what the left is doing. But you are not talking about the news, what is really happening, important things that are happening, what Trump is doing, and what changes are being done. That is not talked about. When it comes to so-called right-wing media, conservative media, on the part of the mainstream like Fox News. First of all, Project Veritas has made it clear that Fox News is all about business. Our target audience is conservative. So the people there are not really conservative. Fox News are not run by true conservatives. It's just, this is our target audience. So let's deal with that. And all they do is respond to the nonsense on CNN and make fun of CNN. So they too are not even talking about the real things that Trump is doing. And it is not real news. Americans are uninformed. A lot of people are uninformed, and if they were better informed, they would make better decisions. When Time magazine started, the first time, the original idea, was to focus on important news. And that's why I gave the example of the Dangote and what rich people who are going somewhere, the kind of news they're interested in getting, and then the kind of news that poor people want. The poor people are interested in sensationalism and crazy stuff. But there's what is important. There is no news network that focuses on important things. Now, it may not sell. It is not going to sell newspapers if it was a newspaper, because, I remember someone once said, if a dog bites a man, that is not news. But if a man bites a dog, that is news. So people want the unusual, they want the upside down. And, it's the same thing, bad news sell. These 300 people have died. That is news. But if 300 people get a promotion, that is not news. But that could be useful to somebody who is interested in creating opportunities and jobs, or somebody looking for jobs. Oh, why is there a job boom here? What is happening in this industry, and is there an opportunity for me? So the information that you are interested in, the useful information, is different from, just the regular news. There's no news globally, so this is bigger than Trump. There is no news network that focuses on giving you what will help you. That is their focus. Let me inform the people what is happening. Because that news network is going to be boring. And that's another thing. Many people are not going to watch it. Because what drives people, what people want sensationalism, people want nonsense. People want to be entertained. But there needs to be a news network for people who are going somewhere, something that they can get with, they can listen to. When Time magazine started, it started with showing facts. If somebody, like for example, even look at interviews. How many interviews have you watched that all the questions are stupid? You interview somebody who started from nothing and made it, now they're a big Hollywood producer, movie star, whatever. And all the questions they're asking is about this dating relationship and this girlfriend, or beef with this person, or something on set that happened, and, meaningless stuff. There are a lot of questions that you could ask, like, what motivated you? How did you get from where you are, to where, things that, for example, if somebody also wanted to take that part, if somebody also was watching the interview and wanted to be a successful producer and just has no money to give them, what questions, if answered, would help that person? Those are the kind of questions that should be asked. Important questions, because that person is in a position to answer it. The producer that has made it. But such things, people don't care about what is important. So we must have that kind of news network. The lack of such a thing for Trump is a big hindrance, because Trump, his whole presidency, and it is just going to give you unnecessary stress. He's now spending his time responding to CNN and MSNBC and fake news and stupid reporters that their goal is just to demonize and call and to take attention away from something important. Let's say Trump does 5 important things, and then one crazy thing or one little thing happens, like he kicks a stone or something while walking. They will now ask him stupid questions about the stone that he kicked. And is that presidential to kick a stone while you are walking, or whatever? They forget the important things. Who cares about if a president kicks a stone when he's walking, or whether he's quote unquote presidential or acting president, whatever that is? We are interested on if he can do the job and if he can solve the problems. So without a Trump news network, and Donald Trump's son has the time and the ability to pull off such a network, and it's something that will eventually outlast Trump, because it outlasts Trump's presidency, and will be there. This is an opportunity for Trump to start it, for his son to start it, and it be a situation where they ignore responding to the nonsense on CNN, MSNBC, and The View, all those stupid nonsense, and just focus on just informing the public. This is what he did, this is what he plans to do. President Trump laying out the plan, this is what I want to achieve, this is what I want to achieve, and he goes out, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, this is what I'm doing, and all of that. So there are important things that can be done. And that being said, I guess I'm also speaking to myself, because I need to set up something, on a global network like that, that's not just Trump, just globally, in every country, that deals with news, information that is useful. For example, if there's a curfew in a certain place, it's not going to make mainstream news or even national news or even main city-wide news. Or if an area is not safe to go, certain kinds of things like that. I know there are now apps that assist and help with that, but what I'm trying to paint a picture of is that there are things that people will need. There's information about changes that are being made daily that people will need, but it is never going to be on the news as it is, because news now is all about sensationalism and entertaining and crazy stuff, and they already have their agendas and the kind of thing that passes for news, and they won't look at things that, though very helpful, will end up being boring. So that's that. Make sure you check out Alfred or VIP for more. Thank you, and God bless you.